But what they find is a whole load of gold-plated, cheap fashion watches. Bremont are stainless steel, heavy and very expensive. But how much in rupees?
Raspberry in starts if you're looking at £3,000 or £4,000, so in sterling weight.
So it's probably 35,000 upwards.
Well upwards, as it turns out.
Now, ours are more like 300,000.
Sorry, 350,000, yes.
Oh my God.
There's a little naught missing there. we should probably get our pricing sorted out before we meet our key retailers.
It looks to me like a calculator could come in handy here. The boys are starting to make me nervous. Is a recession a really good time to start selling luxury watches? We've come to a high-end watch shop to find out.
A brand which is new to India, would you say it's a good time or a...
I wouldn't say it's a bad time or a good time. I have to say that the watch market in India was booming at one point in time with a lot of new brands coming in. But then with the recession that's hit the world, I have to admit it's hit India too. If you came in now,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can actually guarantee you a quick return.
And if Nick and Giles couldn't work out the price they wanted to charge in India, they've forgotten something else that's pretty important to anyone selling abroad.
What about import duties? What's the effect of import duties of luxury goods now in India?
Import duties?
Yeah.
Up to 58%.
15%?
To 58.
58?
If you had a duty, honestly, of 58%, it'd be impossible to make money.
And it's just getting worse. In India, the retail price isn't the final price. It's just the starting point for negotiations. Everybody haggles.
In our kind of a market, it's very simple. You don't discount, you won't sell. Because people expect a discount.
Right.
I mean, I've had experiences where people walk into the boutique and even before they've settled on a particular brand or model, they'll ask, the first question they ask is, what kind of discounts are you giving?
So would they be expecting a 20% discount?
That's nothing. That's nothing.
They come in a shop like this and expect...
35 and 40%.
You can't discount at those sort of levels, or otherwise someone's going to be losing money somewhere down the line.
Let's have a guess who. For Regenetech, their problem is not selling their diesel converter. It's finding the oil to run it. And finding that oil is the job of their Indian partner, CleanStar.
Right, so are we saying you've done a deal to supply fuel?
We're working on that right now. Actually, we're working with Regenetech to supply them oil from the activities that we have. We're also looking for partners, so people around the country who are growing similar crops and trees and are looking for buyers.
If I can just summarise.
Yeah.
So basically, by you being able to source the fuel through you guys, you can now start selling the gizmo that allows you to use the plant oil.
Exactly. Our Achilles heel was lack of oil.
And supply them with the oil and make a margin on the oil. So you've got an ongoing income stream, not just a one-off profit from supplying the RG100.
Exactly, you've got it.
Excellent. So when do you think you can start?
As soon as we get confirmation that we can get our hands on the oil.
As soon as they get their hands on the oil. You know what? I think they might find that just that little bit tougher than they think. They've certainly got some oil, but nowhere near enough. And here's the big problem. Diesel is heavily subsidised by the Indian government, so at the pumps, it's quite cheap. To bring down the price of plant oil, Regenetech and CleanStar are going to have to persuade lots of Indian farmers to grow the Jatropha tree. Until they can do that, they need customers who don't mind paying 20% more than anyone else for the pleasure of going green. And that's not going to be easy. But they have found an international school run by Mercedes-Benz in central India.
Well, thank you for seeing us today. And the feedback that we've had so far is it's been well received. It's a project that you like to proceed with.
So we're trying to show the community how they can reduce their carbon footprint, because hopefully we'll have some advertising on the buses so that people see that we're running on vegetable oil.
You know, obviously recession has bitten a little bit, so we've gone a little bit more slowly, because I wanted to include a budget that was going to be the equivalent of, I think it was 2 buses and a generator and a tank, but initially it's going to be 1 bus and a tank here.
One bus? That's not exactly a huge order, but it does seem to suit Kevin.
In terms of where we are now in India, okay, we have a technology that's fully developed and commercial in the UK. It applies equally well here in India. There are some technical issues that will need to be addressed in particular quality control on the oil.
And they're not exactly convincing the men who want to buy enough for one bus.
In a row, as Kevin said, proved the fuel in a lab, proved it in our own vehicles. Have we sold it to a commercial customer? Absolutely no. Well, that's another step. Until you've done it, you haven't proven it.
We're creating you quite so much for guinea pigs then.
Well, we have other companies who are jumping.
You're not in terms of, it's in 500 vehicles in the UK.
The logistics of getting that chain from planting the trees, harvesting the trees, to getting it into our tank, we have to feel confident that you've got that organised.
I mean, clearly it's in our interest to make sure this is a roaring success, because if it doesn't work, you're not going to say nice things, we don't say anything out, so this has to work.
Now, I know you need passion in business, but I'm getting a little bit concerned that Mike's enthusiasm is leading him to be a bit too confident about some of the challenges that lay ahead.
It couldn't have been a better meeting for us. It feels like we struck gold. To say we're working with such a well-known global brand, huge credibility for us.
Well, it's certainly good PR for Regenitech, but they can't make a business out of selling fuel for one tank and one bus. They can't sign up bigger customers until they've found a lot more oil. So the chaps are taking me to an oil mill which says it has 200,000 litres of plant oil on offer.
You drop it down there, a conveyor's up there. It started. I don't know how old this is, but it looks like it's at least 50 years old, and that's for health and safety. I don't think it's even crossed their mind.
These units, even though they're quite old, are able to meet our basic need of producing oil.
The problem is, there's other uses for this oil. It's used in tanneries, and that pushes the price up. And talking of price, what is it exactly? Diesel sells for 35 rupees at the pump. Regenitech need to buy their oil at around 25 rupees a litre to cover their costs and match diesel prices.
So this is selling for 37 to 39 rupees a litre. Okay, and how much is
Jatoba? I am rating 50 rupees per litre.
50 rupees a litre.
37, 50 rupees? Wow, even allowing for a bit of serious haggling here. These figures are surely far too high if Regenitech have any chance of taking on the Indian diesel market.
I would rather get a much higher quality mill than that. To be honest, it frightens me to walk around there, because you don't know what's going to happen to all
those bells. If you're going to get into business here, you've got to find another mill, or you've got to start your own. It's as simple as that. I don't think you can invest money and hope to be in business on the back of what we see today.
We either upgrade this one or we find a different one. I wouldn't disagree with that. Then this would be a major upgrade.
Marmite has its own troubles. It seems that nobody in India likes it. But Cheryl and David are convinced it can score with India's newly health-conscious mums. And they've had a brainwave. If it won't work as a spread, can it work as a food flavouring? You know, a bit like Worcester sauce. They've roped in a top hotel chef to find out how Indian food tastes with added Marmite.
What we want to try and do is, because we don't want to be a medicine, so how do we make a healthy product also tasty? That's the thing. So today is the tasty. We kind of know how to talk about health, so it's B vitamins and it's low fat. How do we make it tasty?
Time for yet another taste test. Let's hope this one goes better than the last two.
We've got some chili, we've got some coriander for garnish, some basil.
This is all staple Indian fare with an added dollop of Marmite.
Okay, now we are very, very, very particular about our curries. This has got some rice.
So do they like it? I can hardly bear to watch.
I'm really loving the biryani, which is yummy.
And it's pretty unique. It's tasting different.
It's excellent. It's got a subtle tangy taste, which actually lingers on the tip of the tongue, you know? And it's giving like,
So, having tasted this, and if you had a jar at home, you would experiment and try it in different things? Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. Cheers, Dad.
In a country that's famous for big flavours, Marmite could end up becoming another way of spicing up your food. But first, Cheryl needs to put Marmite on the shelves, and that's where a distributor comes in. They don't just distribute the goods. They're the people who persuade the shops to buy it in the first place. The team are meeting one of Mumbai's leading distributors.
Here we have a product which is not going to appeal to at least 100% of the populace. So you're going to have perhaps more people saying no than yes. It's a matter of investment on education, because you're going to have to educate the Indian consumer. What exactly is this and why should he or she use it?
For us at the moment, our business plan is a significant overinvestment in the brand for about the first 3 years. We'll look to do one city first. Start from in-store demonstrations, in-store sampling with recipe cards, move on to leaflets and flyers of recipe cards with a coupon, then work all the time with a face, a chef, not quite sure who that might be, just to front the campaign.
To kickstart her brand, Cheryl is prepared to plough all her profits back into marketing for at least 3 years, and that's a smart call. To launch a brand new product in a brand new territory, that means investing in the long term. But what they find is a whole load of gold-plated, cheap fashion watches. Bremont are stainless steel, heavy and very expensive. But how much in rupees?
RSP in starting, if you're looking at £3,000 or £4,000, so in sterling weight.
So it's probably 35,000 upward.
15%.
15%.
To 58.
58?
If you had a duty, honestly, of 58%, it'd be impossible to make money.
And it's just getting worse. In India, the retail price isn't the final price. It's just the starting point for negotiations. Everybody haggles.
In our kind of a market, it's very simple. You don't discuss.
A good time to start selling luxury watches. We've come to a high-end watch shop to find out.
A brand which is new to India, would you say it's a good time or a...
I wouldn't say it's a bad time or a good time. I have to say that the watch market in India was booming at one point in time with a lot of new brands coming in. But then with the recession that's hit the world, I have to admit it's hit India too. If you came in now, I don't think anybody can actually guarantee you a quick return.
And if Nick and Giles couldn't work out the price they wanted to charge in India, they've forgotten something else that's pretty important to anyone selling abroad.
What about import duties? What's the effect of import duties of luxury goods now in India?
Import duties?
Yeah, okay.
Well upwards, as it turns out.
Now, it's more like 300,000.
Sorry, 350,000, yes.
Oh my God.
There's a little naught missing there. we should probably get our pricing sorted out before we meet our key retailers.
It looks to me like a calculator could come in handy here. The boys are starting to make me nervous. Is a recession a really